And even though this conversation took place almost 2,000 years ago, it's clear that Jesus wanted the expectation of his return to motivate his disciples, the ones he was actually talking to in person then, after he returned to heaven. There's no question. He wanted them to be motivated by what he was telling them then. The concept that Jesus is teaching of expectancy leading to motivation and faithfulness, the idea that Jesus could return at any time, that concept is called in Christianity the doctrine of imminence. It's simply the belief that Jesus coming for his church is imminent. It could happen at any time. We know from the way that Jesus is talking to his disciples here, he wanted them to live under the doctrine of imminence. And as you read the whole rest of the New Testament, Paul and James and everything, Peter, it becomes clear that Jesus wanted the church, the early church, all the way up to the church today, to live under the doctrine of imminence. It's throughout the whole New Testament. Because when you really believe that Jesus could come back at any minute, it dramatically changes the way you live. It changes your behavior. It changes your motivations. It changes your priorities. So make a note of this. Jesus desires all believers to live under the doctrine of imminence. He desires all believers, including you and I, to live under the doctrine of imminence because it changes the way we live. Now, this is where it gets very, very interesting if you weren't with me yet. If you believe in the rapture of the church, you believe he's going to come for his church, but you believe it's going to happen halfway through the 7 years, Daniel's 70th week, or you believe it's going to happen at the end of the Great Tribulation, then you've got a real problem because you've denied the doctrine of imminence. Because if you hold to those views, there are some things that absolutely have to take place before Jesus can come back. So he can't come back today if you hold to that view. If you believe in Mid-Trib, which means that the first 3.5 years of Daniel's 70th week are going to take place, then right before the Great Tribulation, the really bad stuff happens, you're going to be raptured. That's called Mid-Trib, the belief that halfway through those 7 years, that's when the rapture is going to happen. If you believe in that, or if you're Post-Trib, that means you believe that it's going to happen at the end of the whole 7 years, at the end of the Great Tribulation, then it's impossible for Jesus to come back today because Antichrist has to rise to prominence on the world stage, broker a peace treaty with Israel, rebuild and then desecrate the temple, all before the rapture can occur. So, problematically, if you hold to a mid-trib or post-trib rapture, that puts you on the side of the evil servant who says, "My master is delaying his coming." Because Jesus can't come back today if you hold to one of those positions. It's only if you believe in a pre-trib rapture, if you believe that the first event that happens in the end times intense period is the rapture. Jesus takes his church before the 7 years even begins. It's only if you believe in a pre-trib rapture, which we do, that you can still hold to the doctrine of imminence. We believe Jesus will come for his church before the 70th week of Daniel. If you don't know what that is, listen to the last few weeks of messages. Before Antichrist rises to prominence and before all those things that take place, which means Jesus could come for his church at any time. Dr. Donald Barnhouse, the great preacher and writer and pastor, used to tease some of his college students who held to these views by coming into the classroom at the beginning of the day, shaking his head and saying, sad day, Jesus can't come back today." Am I saying that if you hold to a mid-trib or post-trib position, then you are an evil servant? No. But you might be. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All I'm saying is that according to the words of Jesus in the Bible, I don't think you want to be on the side of the evil servant. And holding to a mid-trib or post-trib position puts you on the evil servant's side, the servant who says, "My master delays his coming." So if you're there, come and join us on the blessed side. Come and be the good and faithful servant, the servant that's watching for and expecting his return at any moment. I want to be the blessed servant, don't you? I want to be the blessed servant.